Good morning, beautiful people. How are you today? I love you with so much of my heart. There is nothing left to protest. So said Shakespeare, and so said me today to you. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for all your support, for the Sacred Pause, for all that you've given, for all your love, for the power you put behind this incredibly sacred community, for the majesty with which you walk, for the honour with which you give with your presence. Today I wanted to touch on a few subjects, but I wanted to focus on love, really. All you need is love, the Beatles said. And I had some interesting conversations recently about the boundaries of love and how sometimes we need to protect ourselves from love. And to me, and this is just my opinion, this isn't necessarily correct, but my personal feeling is that it's not authentic love if you're having to protect yourself. I think actually the human species were designed to learn to allow our heart to break. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month, maybe it's once a year, maybe it's once a day. But the hardest thing to experience is having your heart broken. But at the same time, you cannot love to the absolute whole, to the absolute fullest, if you're always holding back. To me, those people who hold back or believe they need to protect their hearts, protect themselves, are the people who've been hurt before and have not fully healed from this trauma, from the trauma of this relationship. And I'm not saying it's easy here, not at all, but yeah, we have a phrase in English which is guarded, where people guard your heart. Like the Queen always has her guards around her to protect her. But if we all truly lived in an open world, we loved to the absolute maximum every time, and we didn't live to prevent ourselves from dying, but we just lived to live. And I'm not talking about taking drugs, drinking, smoking 100 cigarettes a day. That's not the kind of living life to the maximum I'm talking about. The life I'm talking about is a life where we step fully into our hearts in every relationship we have. Not necessarily a relationship which is a physical relationship, but every relationship. The relationship with our mothers, fathers, children, friends. Because if you can get to that place where you give everyone everything you can, romantic or not, but you always come from that space in the heart, then you are going to be one heck of a human being, one heck of a soul. And there is no way that you cannot be yourself. There's no way you cannot fulfill your soul's purpose in this lifetime. Now, this isn't easy, I know that. And actually, I think our childhood is the training ground for us learning the levels to which we're prepared to go to. We're going to get hurt a few times. We're going to be disappointed a few times in that apprenticeship of life, in that apprenticeship of love. And I do truly believe that we have to become somebody, just like Ram Dass said, before we can become nobody. But I think once you've reached adulthood, once you've crossed through the rites of passage of life, which is moving from those teenage years to being a fully fledged adult, this is the time when we're probably at our most fragile, because suddenly you become an independent. As a child, you always have someone around you who's going to help you, or most people do anyway. And if you don't, then you're forced to grow up a lot quicker. But once you step into the shoes of an adult, where people start looking at you in a way that you can look after yourself, when you start to have relationships, serious relationships with people, and suddenly you have to trust other people, or at least you have to learn to trust other people. You have to give yourself to them in many ways. It's in these moments when our hearts get broken, when the relationships dissolve. It's in those moments where the friction might begin between two people, where we're truly tested? Can we continue to be ourselves? Can we completely trust the other person? If a relationship ends because somebody hurts us, can we trust the next person? Or do we really feel we have a need to hold something within ourselves back so the person in the next relationship doesn't get the full magical version of you? Now, in a relationship, it's very easy to think that the problems come from the other side. It's very easy to point the finger at your partner when things start to go wrong. Well, he's not doing this. Well, she's not doing that. Well, they hurt me. Well, they didn't do the washing up. They didn't tidy this. They didn't tidy that. They're treating me badly. And if we want, we can stay in that place. But really, that's coming from that first and second chakra. That space where we activate only the reptilian brain. That place of survival. That place of ego where we don't want to be wrong. It's always the other person. But as we move up through the chakras, and certainly as we start to clean those first and second chakras through a lot of meditation, through healings, but also through acceptance and forgiveness, we suddenly start to see a much bluer sky. A place where, from the point of love, it's nobody's fault. It's not the other person. It's not you. It's just an opportunity to take responsibility yourself for the situation. So it's not waiting for them to say sorry. It's not even saying sorry yourself because you've already given forgiveness to the situation. But it's actually looking at a relationship as if it's a journey where you hold hands together like you're two branches on the same tree. And you never see two branches from the same tree fighting. They're always in unison. They're always in harmony with nature. Just being, accepting, I'm a branch in this tree. And so are you. So how can we work together to make this tree live for as long as possible in a healthy place? Just be. There's no great rocket science to it. It's simply letting go and remembering that you love the other person, that you're not there to fight with them. You're not there to have one-upmanship, to show them that you were right and they were wrong, or to write the list of all the things they're doing wrong, or to write a list of all the things that they could do better. That's a competition, and a relationship or a loving partnership is not a competition. It's a place of joy and a place where you work as a team. And there's certainly no I in the word team, nor the word love. Now, what I'm not saying here is that every relationship should last forever. I don't believe that that is the case. If that was the case, then we'd meet someone at school and we'd be with them forever and there'd never be any problems. But I am very much a believer in looking at a relationship through the eyes of the heart. I do believe in the law of attraction, and everyone who comes into our life comes into it for a reason, and that reason might be a simple lesson we have to learn, something we prearranged in a lifetime before or before we came down for this incarnation. So even if you perhaps don't think that the relationship you're in is the one that's going to last forever, when you're in it, do try and give absolutely everything in terms of the amount of love you have. Now, there are relationships where people take all our energy away from us, and these are not healthy relationships. It might be that you're imbalanced, it might be that you're out of balance, but it also might be that this person is not the person that was meant to be with you. Perhaps you've got to learn the lesson and move on. But one thing I have learned is that you shouldn't stay in a relationship if you really are not happy. If you give absolutely everything to that relationship from the absolute depths or the center of your heart, and yet still from the other side nothing comes back, then there really is a problem. And I know a lot of people get stuck in these toxic relationships, and they lose so much of their power that they haven't even got the strength to get out of them. So what I wanted to say here was, please don't be in a relationship where you're protecting yourself, where you're not giving absolutely everything. If you feel this isn't a relationship that's going to work out in the long term, then really you've got to talk about it. You've got to talk about it, communicate with that other person. And when you do communicate, don't do it from that first or second chakra. Don't activate the reptilian brain. Really come from that higher place, that place of love, that place of magic, and that space where you can actually solve the problems, but not on a human level, but on a much, much bigger level. And if for whatever reason you realize that your life plans are very different from their life plans, then the time has come to probably let it go and to move on, but to do it in a peaceful way, and to do it in a way where you understand their perspective. You see that they're just very different and they're on a different journey, and perhaps it isn't the same trajectory to your journey. Maybe they're not on a spiritual journey. Maybe they are. Maybe they want to become a monk or a nun. I think what you have to do is respect whatever place they're coming from, even if it doesn't come with the same ideals that you now have in your life, because we're all unique, we're all different. And I think we should be grateful for anyone who comes into our life and allows us to see a different way of seeing the world. Right now, as we move into this Aquarian age, the world is changing. Consciousness is shifting dramatically. But it doesn't mean that immediately everyone in the world is going to become a Zen master. Actually, it might mean that a lot of people move in the other direction because they're really struggling with this energy. And so they try and run away from it because they've always been taught in their life that it's absolutely bonkers to believe in something bigger. Actually, they don't think it's bonkers in the deepest echelons of their soul. It's actually the thing they know is more true than anything. They're just scared. But we do have to have respect for the fact that they're not ready to embrace that just yet. So send them love, hold space for them. Maybe they don't like communicating. Maybe they talk too much. Maybe they're constantly trying to run away. Maybe they're hurting people. But hold space for them at the very least, because deep down in their soul, nobody wants to hurt anybody. It's only when they're lost souls, when they're confused about their journey, that they resort to hurting other people. I wish you a beautiful day. I thank you so much for listening. And I wish you and your partner and all the people in your world the most beautiful journey through life. Thank you so much for listening. Yours in love and peace, Peter. Namaste.